happens to us, we were instrumental in that. So when that happened, our humanity became an essence. We are the essence of human. So just think about it for a moment. Just what does it mean to be the essence of human? If I bring myself back, I have two stories within my humanity as a self, as a human self. Either I am created perfectly in one instant as a perfect design, and there I was, or I was actually a biological unfolding of consciousness that through all things and through all nature became the human, and then the human, the story of me, became actually unfolding through time and went through extraordinary periods of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of transformation. All the civilizations, all the Greeks, the Romans, all the Egyptian civilizations, all the civilizations of human trying to understand in their humanity what was to be human is about. What does it mean to be human? So for many of us, if we bring it into this recent time, the time that we are right now, we had before the harmonic conversion, an enormous complexity about what human means. For us, humanity became the closest approximation that we can think of God, because human and his intelligence can comprehend love, can comprehend transcendence, can comprehend unity, can comprehend many, many, many attributes that we consider to be godly. But also within our humanity, there were many things that we consider to be, I don't know what they were, it will be difficult to say, but were like essentially confused, or some people have called it evil, or darkness, or things that some of us have denied our brilliancy by saying, oh, me, no, I could never be God, I could never be so. So humanity and its existence has become very confused in its essential remembrance, or the essential uncovering of the essence of what it is to be human. So in the new consciousness, when our humanity, the whole of humanity, brought the moment of completion, and we will transpose ourselves into a new sense of self, we are the new human. Each of us is the new human. Not only each of us, everyone is the new human. And the new human implies that we are now in a great mind, in a mind that is eternal, in a mind that has the possibility of live in the moment right now, as we're starting to perceive the entire perfection of the eternal nature, the beauty, the brilliancy, the fulfillment, all the things that we talk about are all present within our life. We are the new self. It is fantastic because the new self, it has for the first time, it has a universal mind. Not a usual universal mind, the real mind that is the universe, the real intelligence. Yeah. So then this is what we give ourselves permissions to really enter, be part of that mind, perceive it, and allow the nervous system. Then when you go to bed at nighttime, allow the nervous system, just as the coax cable at nighttime when we are to sleep changes everything and puts everything in the computer to what's going to be tomorrow for you to see. That's what the mind does when we go to sleep. That allow us to open the fields and create within our minds the awareness and perceptions of the new consciousness that we are coming into being, and that is being downloaded, if you may, by the very nature of the consciousness itself, but also aid by the divine, which is assisting each of us to be able to know the exact amount that we will be able to receive in order for us to remain in the constancy of the eternity of the new eternity that is life. Because we can no longer go up and down. Remember, life is even. Eternal mind, eternal life is constant. It occupies the moment to moment of existence, but not in a pendulum anymore. Is at every single moment, according to whatever pendulum seems to be, in every single moment, it's always the whole. It's always the whole. It's always the whole. So we are inside of an eternal mind. So it is exquisite, it's perfect, it has the new unfolding that we call human, which is ourself. And it's a little bit complex to talk about it, only because in this reality, we are gods. And it's okay. This is when I said it's complex, because the story in our humanity is that you can never be God. Or if you start talking about God, you have delirious or grandiose delirious, or you really are ready for the madhouse, one of those things. So I tell you this for you to have a perspective while we're talking about that, to give ourselves permissions to really be what we are now, the new human. You have to give yourself permission inside of your own sanity. And sanity means inside of the reason of your own mind. Sanity is perfect reason within your mind. Whenever we think that we are insane, it's because the mind became split. And then the split of the mind does not allow us to put anything together. So the third entity, which is ourself, is a little bit crazy. We're like a chicken with a head cut off, trying to find what are you making with all this. So in the reality of ourselves, really what the whole mind means is that we are inside of absolute sanity, absolute reason, absolute love, absolute perfection, absolute utopia, absolute eternity. Everything is absolute. But absolute as life, not absolute inside of the story that we created as the differentiation between absolute and relative. Real absolute, not the absolute dividing between those two, the real absolutes that correspond to the moment of life itself, the absoluteness of life. It's fantastic, fantastic. So eternity then means being even, connected, being with life itself, means participating in the natural experience that is our sense of self for the first time, mental, emotional, and physically being present within the planet, being in the garden, because we all carry the memory of the garden, and now the planet is the garden itself, but also the planet in the centralization of itself correspond to the centralization of everything for the first time. So we are simultaneous with everything. Simultaneous with everything means that we are simultaneous with the center of the universe, which I talk a little bit about it in the paper that I'm sent to Mary Pat and Lois. So if you read it, just read it. And then if you have questions about it, ask, because it's very important. Because for the first time, the linear nature of our consciousness can comprehend A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the whole thing, but also can comprehend that it's inside of the whole alphabet at the same time. That's what simultaneous means, that we can be in one aspect of the whole, but we can be in the whole simultaneously, traveling with the whole simultaneously, being with the whole simultaneously. This is in the most simple form. It is fantastic because it assists the body. Once we become present with that, the body can become present within itself. Because every single system that make up the whole body can really be synchronized with life itself. It's not like the system have to work in their own time. At the same time, like we did before, they in the surface, the one that it was in the surface in us, we didn't know where we were. So the physical body does the best it can inside of its own intelligence, but the one who is the driver, the car, the one who is the main driver may not even hear before. But now we are here. The one who puts everything together as unity, excuse me, is really yourself. You are the one. You are the one of everything. So each of us is the one. Each of us lives in eternity, because eternity is the actual instant of your life. And it's wonderful to work on life as an eternal reality. When you get up in the morning and I said, oh my God, I'm living in the eternal reality of life. There is nothing more beautiful, because then life implies everything again. It doesn't imply just one thing. Eternity means the whole thing, the whole voyage, the whole present, everything. And it's an essence. It's an essence. So this is the essence that we are experiencing now in ourselves as the eternal human that we are, as the eternal consciousness that we are, as the eternal love that we are. Everything is eternal. It's lovely to look at it and to see it. So any feedback or any questions or anything about what I'm saying, just for a few seconds, just to stay in the contemplation of what I'm saying. Because remember that we have talked about ascension, which is the moment of our existence. We are ascending. We are in the celebration of all things. We are in the magic of the celebration. We are in the utopia, that is the recreation of the world through the actual awareness of ourselves, being in the field of idealism that correspond to the whole mind of life. Whenever we have questions of idealism in our human existence, it was always because our mind could not understand that idealism was what the mind was. Idealism was considered to be, okay, you can be ideal or not ideal, it's something outside of me. No, idealism is who we are. So we are in the utopia of idealism, and we are now in the continuity of eternal existence. It's fantastic. And we are all beginning to experience what the eternal existence means. The fourth dimension, self-contained within itself, a dimension, our reality that is called the dimension of eternal existence. And it's fantastic. And I'm sure that all you experience it, I am experiencing it. So if I experience it, you're experiencing it too. It's just that we are creating words so that when you experience, you can begin to recognize it. And I say, oh, I see. I am momentarily, because it occurs from short amount of time, because it's very, very, very transcendental in its natural experience. So once you recognize it, if you put it in context, it will become more and more part of your life. Transcendental experience, transcendental understanding, or transcendental sensation of the dimension of eternal existence is that you get to experience the presence of yourself. What is to be present with yourself? What is to be in the field of presence with the presence of yourself? So each of us is becoming present with T inside of the field of presence, which is that which permeates all things in one instant. That's what happened in the instant of eternal time. We call it the harmonic convergence. But that instant, everything became simultaneous within itself. So in that presence, in that the dimension of eternal existence, you get to be in a moment in yourself that it has no boundaries. It has no containment. It is universal in its nature, because you may have remembrances in yourself that correspond to sensations that they are really cosmic and not yet even part of your human experience yet. That they are self-contained within the holographic imprint of you, but you're just beginning to be part of it. And it has a lot of information inside of it, and it's very beautiful. It's not scary. It doesn't have any fear. On the contrary, if it has something that you have to define it, as a place of absolute peace, absolute stillness, absolute no boundaries, absolute understanding, absolute love, absolute beauty. Everything, all the dimensions are absolute inside of it. And you are in a moment that you can see all, feel all, and yet still being yourself. So it's not that you get to perceive all that outside of you or as an idea. It's that you are the center of that. And that's what we call it, the dimension of eternal existence, but also the dimension in which you get to know, oh, I am in the presence of God. You know, but not God as an entity. The actual dimension itself is the presence of God itself. And it's divine, it's fantastic. And all of us are experiencing it. Or if you think that you're not, open yourself to it and you will begin to feel it. And when you begin to feel it in experience, allow yourself to put it in content and context. Because the mind, you yourself, the self that is surfacing, is the one that allows the mind to be able to reinstate its wholeness by the acknowledgement of the beauty and the perfection that it's experiencing. And then the mind can more and more and more surrender, become part of it, connect to the beauty of everything. Yeah?
Cristian,
Yeah.
I just want you were talking about this, the fourth dimension as the dimension
Of eternal existence.
and then how would you relate that to the eighth dimension?
The dimension of nature?
Yeah, ninth dimension of eternal regeneration.
Eternal regeneration, yes, absolutely.
So is that a different thing? Or
it's a little bit different because
regeneration.
infinite regeneration is the ninth dimension. And the essence of infinite regeneration is life itself. Yeah, the essence of infinite regeneration is life itself. Remember the ninth dimension, infinite regeneration, we define it as the eternal becoming of life. So the words eternal becoming of life is actually what we're talking about right now, being in the presence of life as eternal, being the presence of life as a whole. So it's an energetic connection to life that it is the source of your entire being. Infinite regeneration is the source of your entire being. Infinite regeneration is another word for life. Yeah, do you see what I mean? Infinite regeneration is the instant of existence that we call life. Life is instant regeneration, constant. Every single moment, life is regenerating every single moment. 100% created, 100% regenerating. Now, the difference between infinite regeneration, the eternal becoming of life, and the fourth dimension, the dimension of eternal existence, is that you are not only just being in the presence of life as eternal, but you are in the presence of yourself as the eternal. It's a little bit different. Life as eternal, as in the presence of life as eternal, is you get to be in the divine, the divine personal awareness, what life is for you. Yeah, life is, because eventually, remember that I said that life now has a feeling, that you can feel life. So we are beginning to understand what that is for us. Life has a feeling. I am life. What is life for me? And it's
so, Cristian,
going back. Yeah.
In the ninth dimension, we understand then through the fourth dimension, we understand this infinite regeneration.
Exactly. We understand the infinite regeneration, but we also understand the eternal nature of our sense of self.
Through the eternal nature of ourself, we understand the infinite regeneration.
Yes. Through the eternal nature of ourselves, we understand the infinite regeneration. Yeah, through the fourth dimension, you get to understand the ninth. In the linear aspect in which we learn about the dimension, every single one of the dimensions allows you to understand all the other ones more and more and more until you get to the nine, which is actually, you get to understand what is the meaning of infinite regeneration. It's actually the atomic existence of you as being alive. It's the atomic nature of you as being alive.
Could you kind of repeat or summarize that difference between the two again?
Yeah, the ninth dimension, infinite regeneration, the eternal becoming of life, is sort of an explanation and an understanding of the infinite regeneration that occurs within life every single instant. Every single instant, life is regenerating as a whole system because we live in the synchronicity with everything. And life is eternal because it's everything, moves with everything, regenerates with everything. So every single instant of our human lives, we are in the presence of life as eternal. So we are regenerating. We are understanding that the regeneration of life is atomic. Is before my awareness, before my thought. My connection to life is before anything, is the essence that I call myself. The self with a capital S is one with life. What it means is that it understands that I am life. I am not removed as Cristian from one step from life, even though in the language that I use may seems to be the life is here and Cristian is here. In reality, it's not true. I am the life itself. I am the infinite regeneration of life. So in that sense, it's a connection in your mind that we are, in our mind, that we are becoming interconnected by the contemplation of perceiving that life is the closest thing that I can have in my being. Because you cannot exist without life. The self cannot exist without life. It is simultaneous with life. So the self in us, in each of us, as the new human that partakes of everything now, is regenerating every single instant in the presence of life. It's regenerating before you thinking that you are regenerating. Do you know what I mean by that? Because thought, the way that we have experienced it in our evolution, was always a delay. We was always think exactly. We don't have to do it. In our evolution, the way we use language is we always telling a story about something. We always narrating what had happened. We always telling everybody else what we do, what we feel, and what we never are in the moment itself. We are telling the story. Now we are not telling the story. We are. So we're learning that we can begin to be in the presence of who we are instead of the story. So in that sense, I am life itself. I am not separated from life at all. So that takes a little bit of contemplation, because you have to spend time with your mind, because remember, the mind have objectified life. You know what I mean, objectify life? It makes it life like a thought or an idea, or life is this and life is that, blah, 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 blah. So at the same time that we treasure life, and it's the most divine thing, because everybody, the one thing that it wants to is to be alive. Yes? There's nothing more sad that it happened when you were children, when we were children. When I was a child, and they took me out to kiss my grandmother when I was 5 years old, my grandmother that was in the coffin, and I saw my grandmother, I remember, oh my God, I'm back into the realms of human existence and where life and death exists. They tell me that everything is eternal at the same time that everybody's dying. So it was a shock to the system. So it's a shock for all of us as children. Remember as children, when you have to come into correspondence, you're going to die. And then in the human existence, we did everything that we could in order not to be in the presence that we're going to die. You know, we created 1,000 reflexes, 1,000 things to do, 1,000 things to think, 1,000 things to pray, 1,000 things, because the idea of death became like the most scary thing, because there was the unknown. And it was true, because it was totally unreal. That was the unreality of our evolutionary perception of life. But now that we are back into the reality itself, as life is eternal, we can comprehend life as being who we are in the moment itself. Not about life up there that I'm going to live forever, or I'm going to eat somebody else's blood and I'm going to keep the nature of eternity, or becoming blah, blah, blah. All those stories was the story that we created inside of the confusion. So anyway, we are in the presence of eternity and the presence of life. But what I want you to convey to you today is that contemplation is necessary a little bit for your mind to really make the transition that what you call life is not 1 degree separated from you, that you are life itself. And then when that occurs, you're going to notice that you have much more energy, because you are in the presence of that which is constantly regenerating, instead of being in the presence of something that is objectified outside of you. The source of all healings come into that place, that you are in the presence of life. And if you are in the presence of life, for the first time, you recognize that death doesn't exist, because you are eternal. Life is eternal. The self is eternal. Now, you cannot create any conscience about what that is, because the only way you can create conscience about what that is will be in the whole mind. And that will become very complex, because it has nothing to do with the moment. But you will be in the presence constantly of eternity, which is the presence of life itself. And it will be wonderful, because life then, life is everything within the 10 dimensions. Life is light, right? Remember that we said that the light, life, and God are one, the original Trinity. Life is consciousness. You cannot have consciousness without life. Yeah? Somebody has to vibrate. Something, the heart must begin to go. Something has to have form in order to be able to have consciousness. Yes, so consciousness is life itself. Consciousness is what perceives life. Yeah. Then we have the spirit. Yeah, the spirit of unity, which is actually the whole process of evolution was those three things: light, consciousness, and the spirit bring us back home. That's where we are back home. Three dimensions got reinstated in the moment of union. And now the moment of union, the moment of presence, the dimension of eternal existence, where everything is one, life is ever present. So we are back in the eternal nature of life. That's the reason we call the eternal moment, because the moment is no longer temporal. It's actually eternal. It's the moment that corresponds to all things. It's the moment you connect in unity and motion as you move. It's the moment that you are. It's the moment that your heart palpitates before it expands and contract. Because who you are is before even that. You know what I mean? The heart goes constantly pumping. Who is pumping the heart? Life. So that's what we are. That's the fourth dimension. So then, if we're going back into balance, then, which is the union and the physical connection to the fulfillment of all things, we're going back into the eternal nature of fulfillment, what we've been talking about, and so on. I can continue going on from it, but I don't want to confuse you. I want to keep you in this understanding of life and eternity in the dimension of eternal existence and infinite regeneration, which is another form for eternity. So the human self that we are is now in the presence of its own, his or her own eternal nature, which is difficult to talk about it, again, only because the language that we have used for all those terms were always divided innocently inside of the dualistic interpretation. So that's the reason that it's a little bit complex, because it is essential now. It's you who make those dualistic in the Trinity. And I said, oh, I see. My mind was interpreting things from two perspectives, but in reality, I am the third entity now that actually unite everything and dissolve those interpretations that they were never real. We're only created because we were not yet in the whole field, but now we are. So we are in the presence of eternal existence. So our body is eternal. So the body needs a lot of attention inside of that, or contemplation, if you may, just a few minutes, or practice, or whatever you want it to call it. Be in the moment, and when you get up in the morning and say, my body is eternal. What does it mean? Don't make too much. If you get too headed about it, don't make too much things about it, but know that the eternal nature of your body means that everything within your system is synchronized with life. And you can give permission to that. Just give permission to that to your body, and your body will just be beautiful because it's becoming alive. Your body, everything, every molecular structure within your body is a fractal version of the fountain of life. But I don't know if I can show you by saying this, but let me see. I have to find the graphics just to show you what I mean by that. I don't know. I had it with the here. Oh no, I'm in trouble. Yeah. The fountain of life. Eventually, we have to have one about the fountain of life. Remember, you have seen it before. The fountain of life is the whole system of infinite regeneration, expressing the eternal nature of life. The fountain. Yeah, you have seen those graphics many, many times. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the echinacea.
Echinacea? Echinacea?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know what sound was on.
Echinacea is wonderful. The echinacea is an herb. It's actually an essence. Yeah. So anyway, the fountain of life, what we call the fountain, this is the field of energy that we enter every time that we practice unity and motion, the fountain of life. I don't know if you can see it, but you recognize this picture. You have it, just look at it, because now I want you to see it as the instant. This represents one instant. This is a two-dimensional picture of one instant existing, one frame existing inside of the eternal nature of life, the one frame. And then if you were to animate it, everything will come into the center and it will go away from its center, and it will create this fountain in which every single part of the fountain is fractal. Every single point within the fountain shall contain the fountain. So I'll tell you that's to contemplate. See the fountain and animate it within your mind. First, what you see is the moment of life, eternity, every single instant. It's only one frame. If you were to animate it, you can see how everything goes in and out at the same time, and then the frame will become the sphere, you know, the whole system will become. But this is a blessing too, because if it were to be the whole system, you will become fascinated by seeing this exquisite thing going around that we call the Tauros. The science called the Tauros, the universe. That's the way the science see the existence of the universe. Inside of this Tauros that recreates itself. It's a self-regenerated system existing inside of the eternal regeneration of life. The Tauros is a self-regenerated system existing inside of the infinite regeneration of life. But even when I use those words, you know, the Tauros is a self-regenerated system inside of the self-regeneration of life. I use all those words and all those symbols to imply just only one moment. One moment. Every single moment is the one in the whole. So the language, it helps us to be able to comprehend things, but now the language has to help us to synergize things into the oneness. And then inside of the oneness, we can make use of the language, because that's what we have. We don't have anything else. But the word is the word is the word. But the word will no longer make us linear. The word will assist us to recover the essence within ourselves that correspond to synchronicity. Synchronicity is the moment of eternal existence. What do you think? Can you see? Synchronicity is the moment of eternal existence. The moment of eternal existence are three words, a trinity, to convey something that is happening in the instant that you are. That you are. The electrical impulse that is the life of each of us, of you, is actually that moment. That is continual. It's not just one moment, but it's continual, and it's always existing within the moment. Because I told you before that the moment is what makes everything physical. Every single moment, everything is physical at the same time that it's transparent. So physicality is a phenomenal action that is the physical world. That's what the physical world it means. That the instant of creation, if you may, of the instant of time, of the eternal, in the infinite regeneration, that moment is the moment in which everything is manifested. Every single plant grows. The planet is changing every single moment. My entire body in that moment is changing inside all the systems. Always an extraordinary system transforming itself in that instant. So the physical existence is supreme inside of the transparent. And the transparent is supreme inside of the physical. So it's all one. It's beautiful. So then we are totally, three dimensions mean the physical world that we came into being. But then through evolution, the physical world became complex. Just see the complexity that happened. But now we're becoming free from it, because physicality means nothing other than being present in the presence of life. Being present in the presence of life. It's fantastic. It's really fantastic. The eternal nature of everything. So everything is eternal. It will become more and more with you when you see it. I don't know what to say about it, because now I see everything with the eyes of eternity. It's kind of, it's very lovely. It's wonderful. And what it means is that it's just that I see everything as a creation. Just think about, somebody sent me this card, this beautiful card that somebody sent me. And it is like a design of the universe, and it has like it's like jewels and so forth, and everything is beautiful. But anyway, somebody did this inside, and they put a lot of sparkle in it. It is beautiful because somebody saw it, created a design, put the sparkle, which represents that there's the luminescent nature of their own mind. So this is a recipe. This is an object of infinite existence.
Can you hold it up so we can see?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everything, the glass, just think about it. Water. Can you imagine water, something more divine than water itself? Water is life. Yeah, without water, nothing will exist. Right? Nothing will exist. Nothing will grow. Nothing. So, but most of us really, every time that we drink water, do we know? Do we just are aware that this is a divine thing that I'm drinking? It's the most divine elixir in the entire world, from which all other elixirs were created. But without water, you cannot have wine, you cannot have anything. So this is the most divine elixir in the world. So as we begin to become more present with it, everything becomes more divine because we see the essence of it, not just only the immediate perception of it, the essence of water. Can you imagine the essence of water? It's fantastic. The essence of water means the water that had become clouds for millions and millions of years, and it became water, and it became earth, and fed it all the plants, and fed it all the animals, and fed it your body, and then you pee, and it go back into the system, and then the substance becomes out of my body, becomes again exude out into space, and everything exudes into space, and it creates this beautiful, beautiful cloud from which the water comes back and it gets recycled inside of everything. So when you drink one drop of water, you're drinking the entire water that ever existed inside of the planet Earth, because we live in a greenhouse, an exquisite greenhouse. So, everything will change in that sense, because then when you drink a glass of wine, you're drinking the water of the planet that forever has been water, but then you drink the grapes, which is this beautiful plant that is ancient. The grapes are ancient. And then you drink in what somebody had created and mashed it into this fermentation to create this wine that got created as grape inside of the sun. Can you imagine? Inside of the sun, because the sun is what it gave all the elements to the grape to become the grape. So the original substance of all life as we experience on the planet is the sun. Yeah. So then when you got to there, say, oh my God, what I'm drinking is the most divine elixir, because it's the entire essence of everything. The essence of water, the essence of the plant, the essence of the sun, the essence of human invention, the essence that is the fermentation and distillation to transform it into the wine, that it become more and more subtle as it become more essentially itself, the wine. That's the reason in the church before you used to call it something like the divine substance, right? When they give it the wafer and the wine. It wasn't just a piece of bread and the wine. It was the entire nature that the wine represented and the entire earth that the bread represented. So the merging of heaven and light and earth, and it was represented in that communion. You know what I mean? But so that all those becomes much more important in you and us when we begin to understand that we are in the presence of the essence of all things, that the essence of all things is eternal, that you live in the presence of eternity, and then you yourself is eternal. So returning to the dimension of eternal existence one more time. Remember the difference between infinite regeneration being expressing the constant renewal of our life, and then the fourth dimension being the dimension of eternal existence, in which we are beginning to become present with these extraordinary fields that have no boundaries. It's all love, it's all clear, it's all reason, it's all perfect. And then inside of that presence, you get to be in the presence of yourself for the first time. Because the self that we are, it always existed. It always existed. It's the original imprint of your existence as the image and the likeness of God itself, or the divine creator, whatever you wanted to call it. But it's that which you always were and you will always be. So to be in the presence of yourself is a divine thing, because then you understand that everything that we call the 10 dimensions is actually you. Even the divine is you. The divine is nothing other than a natural existence of an aspect of consciousness that is serving you momentarily, of whatever time is needed, until you recover all the different aspects of yourself, in which the divine becomes nothing other than the presence of life and you and God. But in the meantime, the divine is fantastic, because we have a lot to acquire in relation to the nervous system and our mind. So the divine and the divine translator is actually a fantastic aid for ourselves. But it's important that we don't make it like an object, because then we enter a religion again. We make it an object. No, it's just, it is a part of my cell, or this cell in you, that is understanding that being coming from the human incarnation, whatever you wanted to call it, from the human remembrance, and now re-entering the universal remembrance, you are inside of a larger field that is no longer the story of the story, but it's the self-regeneration of your story in a much larger content and context than we thought. So we are in the great adventure. Everything is the great adventure. And the great adventure may come in many different ways. You may be eating a potato, and eating a wonderful potato that it was made into this wonderful, what was it called when you mash potatoes? That you made mashed potato. Eating mashed potatoes, maybe eating mashed potato, and all of a sudden the mashed potato will explode in your consciousness. And I said, oh my God, and it become a cosmic reality instantaneously. And you will say, oh wow, my God, everything that I'm eating is not just a little thing; it's everything. And I said, oh, and then that comes accompanied with a lot of remembrances that exist inside of yourself, the magical being that you are, that each of us is. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. So how are we doing? Shall we continue with San, or shall we stop for a moment? Do we have any
Mind
questions?
blown four or five times.
You what, darling?
I
Say
said
that again.
mind blown about 4 or 5 times.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely,
Yeah,
because
a lot
our
to
mind.
take in, it is. I hope it did get recorded,
I
because
think so. I
worth
think it will be.
listening to.
It's good to explore the mind, because remember that the human mind that we had, it's beautiful. Our human mind is beautiful, because I hope that I don't sound in any way that I'm putting down any part of my evolutionary self, because my evolutionary self was divine. The story of the story of the story of everything. And without the story of the story of the story of everything, nothing will have depth.
No,
Everything would be like blank, it would be like robotic in that sense, blank. And the humanity part of ourselves, we carry all this extraordinary story. But it's good that the mind gets exploded any once in a while, or whenever your time is ready, when I said I'm ready, because the mind always, the linear mind always wanted to confine things to be secure, and to be sure that everything is okay. Because, in evolution, just think about it, every part of our remembrances inside of a genetical makeup, they suffer a lot. We suffer for the weather. We never live enough to be able to gather wisdom, because most of the time we live very, 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 very young. We very rarely, can you imagine, we never had hot water. We never had bathrooms. We never had perfume. We never had cream. We never have any of the things. Well, it sounds like silly things, but it's like the divine things that allows you to love yourself. We didn't have. Everything was arid. Everything was hard. Everything. Can you imagine, without water, without all those things? So we live in an extraordinary hard time, and beautiful times too. But this is the first time that ourselves, we are all enough, that we went through all the layers of our own understanding and experience, and that we are living in this world that in maybe 30 or 40 years, we see and happening in these 40 years, what it have taken thousands of years happen in relation to linear time. So we are speed up until the moment that we can unite it. And now we are speed up because we are releasing the innocent constriction of the mind, wanting to keep everything secure. And it cannot be secure in that sense because the mind now is infinite, it's eternal. So you can't secure it. If you secure something, it's dying. Because in the moment that you secure it in order to protect it, what happened that innocently you cut it from the life force. And when you cut it from the life force, it doesn't sell in the system because you deprive it of the very thing that is the system. So we are learning to be in a world now that has to surrender into the union in the love of all things. So we don't want to look too much into what it is because then it becomes a projection, but you can understand that many parts of the world want to contract into, oh no, I mean, you know, the races wanted to still become the races. They wanted innocently to negate the union that is all permeating and trying to compartmentalize it again, to control it, to control the status quo, which is not, it's okay. It's nothing wrong. It's that we associated controlling with survival and to be able to gather enough well-being so that we can continue with our life. But now it's different because we are now inside of the whole system of life. We are eternal and we cannot hold into anything. On the contrary, we are the unity of everything. So it's beautiful. So the mind explodes because of that. That's the only reason. But it's momentary because the mind arranges itself back into, and it will always, for a while, it will try to come back again to inside of its own confinements. But it is impossible to be confined because the moment of existence is all permeating. So you can't keep it that way. It's impossible. So the more that we surrender to the totality of all things, the better that we feel, the better we assist everyone to let it go and not judge them, because everybody has a different threshold about what that represents to be secure. That's what the beauty of being the evolutionary nature of ourselves. Since we are everything, we understand when somebody wants to be secure or needs something. And we don't have to make it wrong. We can fulfill it in order for as soon as possible, that fulfillment liberate the person so the person can learn more and more and more to let it go. And then the divine and everything will do it. We don't have to do anything other than show up every single moment, which you don't even have to think about it because it's happening by the very nature of being alive. So freedom is actually being alive, right? Yeah, freedom is actually the nature of being alive because that's what life is free. You can't self-contain life. Life is changing constantly. So freedom is the nature of being alive. Freedom is, we are eternal. It is fantastic. It's divine. We love each other. It's wonderful. I mean, it's great. I'm in awe of it, to tell you the truth. I'm talking to you about it like I know all those things. In a certain degree, I take responsibility for knowing because I dwell with it and I'm part of it and I tell you my experience. But I'm just like, you know, I'm being done too, because reality, it doesn't mean that I'm doing anything. It means that I'm coordinate. I am simultaneous with life. And when I am simultaneous with life, I am simultaneous with everything. And everything, since everything is God, has a gift for me. Everything has a gift. Everyone has a gift for me. It's absolutely wonderful. So I'm in awe of it. And I said, oh, wow. And then I said, okay, now what can I do to give this gift away? And I do it as it happens, you know, but it's just wonderful. But I know that all of you experience that too. I know you, that you all experience that too. So the only thing that I'm asking you is, if it's possible, that you begin to really become conscious of the content and context of your experiences, not to crystallize them, but to make them realistically for others. Even not without talking, just by that, assist the field for everybody to be able to feel more magic, more beauty. Wonderful. So anyway, I think that's good. This was not what I was going to tell you today, but I wanted to talk to you about eternity, of course, and that's what we did. But I wanted to talk to you as eternity, as being the self-containment of each of the dimensions. But then I recognized that it will be too complex because I have to go back from essence to infinite regeneration, to whole nature, to self, to beauty, to balance, to presence, to a spirit, to consciousness, to crown. And it becomes again an ascension, because remember that we said we were ascending and we have descending all the way down to essence, because we descending, if we put it that way linearly to understand it, we from ascension, which is the intelligence and the consciousness that we are, we enter the realms of fulfillment, which is the emotional content of our love. And we enter the realms of physical reality, which is the nature who we are. And the completion of the 10 dimensions, we are in the essence now of everything. So the essence of everything is the fountain again, going out, coming in and going out at the same time. But it's the part of ourselves that is eternal now, because it's no longer linear, it's simultaneous with life itself. So anyway, we may do that again, but I will get questions from you, perhaps with the papers. We will send you the papers. Spend, if it's possible, maybe 1 minute a day with the notion that we are expressing a completely new consciousness for the entire experience of humanity. It's a lot, because then just 1 minute. See it as a whole picture. Don't see it as how it relates to you, to your life, or to the things that you want to do, or just see it from the whole picture. Remain in the whole fountain and contemplate the whole fountain. So the whole energy becomes more and more present. So it's not just directed to your unitary sense of self. Because in a daily day, we all have many things to do, many things to attend, and then we have to bring it to our own sense. So if you can spend 1 minute or a little bit more, or whatever it is, into the whole fountain, it will be wonderful, because it will assist 100,000 people in the next moment to become present. Because it's the whole thing that assists the part to be present. It's not that the one is the one because of the all. The all makes the one to be the one, and the one makes the all to be the all. But in reality, they are inseparable, interdependent. Okay, wonderful. So have the most wonderful holidays. I'm going to be thinking of all of you. I love you all. I feel like I wanted to thank you constantly, because you, all of us have made this possible, because how many years we have gone through all the different stages through the motions and the names and the connection and the dimensions and the ways and the principle, creating this beautiful design called unity in motion, that now is completed itself, because it is inside of its own consciousness as a whole. It's not just an exercise or a movement or something, that is fluid and beautiful and blah, 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 which is gorgeous, but it's inside of the whole system of consciousness. And you were the one who brought it together through all the different stages. So we all manifested it together. So I want you to spend time, 1 minute in that contemplation as well. That you were the one who manifested alone this exquisite design that we call unity in motion. And I'm just like, and I am too, but I am, I am like a little bit like the referee here, but in reality, it's like, I'm any one moment stop thinking that it's me, because it's all of us, and the whole world and everything, of course, because inclusion is a natural attribute of unity.
Yes.
Inclusion is a natural attribute of unity. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's not something that we're doing because we are nice. But we are nice, but yeah, it's kind of fun. It gets in the language a little bit, you know what I mean? It's not like you're getting points by doing other things. Yeah. It's that we are the very thing. So it's kind of funny. It's not long before that I said, oh, this is so wonderful, I'm doing so good. It doesn't work anymore. It's lovely to do it, because our self, ancient self, has been so shut down for so many thousands of years that it's lovely to say, yeah, you're wonderful, you're beautiful, you did good, It's very important to tell that to yourself, but eventually you recognize that life is the very thing that you are. So you can do it, but as a natural attribute of the self, but you cannot take it too serious either, because it's all part of you already. So it comes with the territory, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank
So
you.
anyway,
Night, everybody.
good night, everybody. I adore you, everybody. Just write and tell us everything. Yes?
Yes.
Fantastic. I
I
love
want
it.
to apologize for being not being here at the time that we started.
That's fine.
No, but it was recorded, darling. So please don't worry, because it was recorded by.
Are we going to be able to access it just like usual?
Yeah, we will.
Make a
Lois
file.
will give us what we have, and then Lois eventually will be maybe give us to us whatever recording she has, so we can translate the first part and the second part and put it together.
But it'll be different though, right?
No,
Maybe,
will be-
maybe not. No, not really. I don't
No.
think so.
it's just additions.
Yeah, it will be fine. We'll do it. We'll do it. It's gonna be
It doesn't
wonderful.
matter.
We are assisted by everything. It's lovely. Yeah, that's wonderful. So we don't have to worry about anything too much because
No.
everything is assisting us too.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a perfection assist us. So it's wonderful. All right. I love you. Okay. Ciao, ciao.
Scheduled for
Happy-
one.
happy
Are we
holidays.
scheduled for one more?
So
Are we scheduled for one more on the
yeah,
6th
we're
of
going to do
January?
one more. We decided what we're going to do in the next one. Okay.
6th of
Whatever
June.
you decided.
And Ellen, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ellen.
Happy
Ellen is going to have her birthday.
Ah, happy birthday.
Ellen,
The
it's actually
17th. Who else
it's
is
actually the
December?
15th. The 15th is you
17.
17.
Is there any 17th?
Oh, how wonderful.
Who else is December? Is there anybody else December?
I'm just
don't know.
trying in
Well,
November.
November. Oh, when were you in November?
What number was I?
What day?
November 26th.
Well, happy birthday.
Yes, I love it.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
Speaking of years, I was just thinking, I was telling Cristiam today that we're coming up to 2020 and 2 and 2 is 4. And so we've been talking about entering into the 4th dimension. And then for all this next decade, we go 2 and 2 is 4, and then 2021 would be the 5th dimension, then the 6th dimension, and the 7th dimension. So all of the 2020s are just absolutely
It's going to be fantastic.
divine.
I know, we're going to be
And
experiencing.
we're starting out with the 4th dimension because we have understood the synchronicity of 3 dimensions.
Fine.
And the
Yay.
movements have helped us to do this. Without the movements, we wouldn't know. We're just coming into the synchronicity
Yeah.
of our own self with our mental and emotional and physical being. And we're ready for this huge adventure to open up for us in the 4th dimension, which
Amen.
opens up everything.
Yeah.
So, and I just was so excited when I realized that 2020, you know, if you're into that number thing, which I'm not too much, but you know, it's really
Makes
cool.
sense.
It's lovely.
Cool. Yeah,
It's
cool.
lovely. Absolutely. All right, darling. Ciao,
Bye.
ciao. Thank you. Ciao, Mary Pat.
Good
I love
night.
you.
Ciao.
Hi.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao. How do we do?
Bye.
Oh,
Ciao.
yay.